You are now listening to Vibe Selection with Kyra, where you can get the real on today's hot topics.
Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Vibe Selection. I'm your host, Kyra, and I know I've been gone for a while, but I'm back with the jump off. Yes, happy belated Juneteenth to everybody out there. Like I said, I know I've been MIA for a while, but honestly, y'all, I just have not really been feeling motivated as of lately. And I'm just one of those people where, like, if I don't feel motivated, I'm just not going to get on the record and say anything, you know? So I'm back. I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling rejuvenated, and I'm ready to discuss some hot topics. All right, so let's get into it, y'all. So the first topic that I want to talk about today is the Britney Spears conservatorship situation. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, Britney Spears has been in this conservatorship since 2008, when her father actually took control over her, pretty much her whole estate. He makes all of the decisions for her because of what she was going through previously when she was having the mental breakdowns. And watching the Free Britney movie, or documentary, excuse me, you know, it was very eye-opening to see how she ended up in the situation she did, but how this conservatorship hasn't really been doing her any good, and it's been doing a lot of harm for her. So, you know, let's start back in the time of 2008 a little bit. Actually, let's go back a little further than that. Now, Britney Spears is on the top of her game. You know, she was killing out there. She was selling millions in records worldwide. You know, she was living on top of the world. And then she had the whole situation with Justin Timberlake talking about, you know, he took her virginity. And then you had all of the tabloid fodder that was going on about her being a role model for young kids and how she was dressing too provocatively. And then you have her trying to uphold this perfect image of being this innocent girl, and her trying to find herself, when we have to realize Britney Spears got into the music industry when she was a kid. I mean, she started at the Mickey Mouse Club when she was like, what, 5-6 years old or something like that. So she's grown up pretty much in the public eye, and she really never really had time to grow up and actually enjoy her youth, you know? So her being thrusted into Hollywood, it was all about her trying to find herself, and she never really felt like she had that freedom in order to do that. So you had the whole situation where Justin Timberlake was, you know, talking about he took her virginity, but then you have Britney Spears going on the record saying that she wanted to remain a virgin, or that she was a virgin. Then she got a lot of backlash for that. And then when the whole breakup happened, she was the one where everybody pointed the finger at and put the blame against her, when really it was Justin Timberlake. And then you have the situation where the tabloids had a lot of scrutiny when it came to the media and the tabloids, portraying her as being this seductive vixen, and she's too sexual, too hypersexual, you know, and she, you know, ultimately started to break down over the years because she was living in the public eye and she faced so much scrutiny. I can't even pronounce my words today. Scrutiny for, you know, her trying to come into her own womanhood, essentially. You know, it was a problem with the way that she was dressing, the way that she was acting, and all of these things. And then, you know, you have these parents out here looking to Britney Spears as being a role model. And it's like, you know, it's a lot to uphold and to deal with. So eventually she just started to break down. You had the paparazzi that was following her every step of the way. She never really had any freedom. They were there, right there. She's going to Burger King trying to get her a freaking Big Mac. You know, they were right there. She was going to go get her hair done at the salon. They were right there outside of the club. Or she was just trying to enjoy herself. So, you know, eventually she started to break down. Then she got in that whole relationship with Kevin Federline. And even before that, when she married her first husband, when she went off to Vegas, and eventually she divorced him like within hours of actually getting married. But she ended up marrying Kevin Federline, had 2 children by him, and she was under a lot of scrutiny about that because, you know, he was previously dating the actress Shar Jackson. And Shar Jackson was going out there saying, well, you know, Britney Spears took my man from me. me, pretty much. We was married and everything, and she broke up our happy home, and Kevin Federline and Britney Spears started their own family together. While that whole situation didn't last, they had a nasty custody battle that was going on. And then with the paparazzi constantly, in her face every waking moment, every time she woke up in the morning, every step that she took, every breath that she breathed, they were right there, scrutinizing her. So she was under a lot of pressure and she broke down. She had the situation where she shaved her head off and she attacked the paparazzi's car one night because she was just over it. And so, she was made to have the conservatorship because of all of the situations that were occurring because they felt like she was having a mental breakdown. But what people weren't really realizing that it wasn't because Britney Spears always had these issues. It was because of all the, the scrutiny in the tabloids and people following and the paparazzi following her constantly as to the reason why she was breaking down. So really, if you look at the situation, she's really been dragged through the mud over the years, and it's really unfortunate. And she's been in this conservatorship for well over 12 years now, and she wants the conservatorship to end. She never wanted her father to even be a conservator over her estate in the first place. And while I was watching the documentary, one of the lawyers that she wanted to be originally appointed as her conservator, he was saying, well, when I meet with someone to see if I can be their conservator, I look to see what their mental state is. So how are they mentally capacitated, or are they incapacitated? And he was saying that she seemed to be in her right frame of mind. She was able to make coherent decisions for herself, and she was very clear on the fact that she did not want her father over her estate. She didn't want him to be in control of anything, if you watch the documentary. And that when he went to the court to see if he could be granted to be a conservator over her estate, he says that the judge told him, we have this mental evaluation on Britney Spears. However, we're not going to let you see what that mental evaluation was. So that leads me to really think to myself, okay, so they're making Britney Spears out to be this crazy person who is not able to make sound decisions for herself, but yet and still, why wouldn't the judge allow this attorney to be able to see a mental evaluation? So then I'm starting to think to myself, okay, well, are people really getting paid off in this situation? Because it's been going on for 12 years. She's constantly been having to sit down and do, mental evaluations, and they say that her situation hasn't gotten any better. If you really think about it, she seems to be worse than she was before. And so it leaves a lot to be questioned. So she recently did an interview. Actually, she went and did the court hearing where she was trying to get the conservatorship with her father taken away from him, and she petitioned the court. And in this audio that was just leaked yesterday, actually, where she sat down in front of the judge and she pretty much poured her heart out. She expressed all of her concerns and her want and need to not only have a family and get married and have kids, which she was, not allowed to do, but she wanted to be able to have control over her life. She was tired of being a slave for her family, and everybody was just sitting around and allowing it to happen. Her dad was in control of all of her finances. No one was allowing her to even walk outside. She had to have someone with her at all times. So she pretty much broke everything down in what was really going on behind the scenes. Because if you look at her Instagram, you're seeing her being active, but you definitely could see that there is something completely off about Britney Spears, on her Instagram. She doesn't really seem all there. She definitely seems like she's drugged up on some type of medication. And it was just really sad to hear her, speak about what was really going on. And it was very, very, very disturbing. So I want you guys to take a listen of this short audio. I know the original audio is about 23 minutes long. I won't hold y'all that long, but I do want you guys to be able to take a listen for yourself and, let me know what your thoughts are on this. So take a listen.
I will be honest with you. I haven't been back to court in a long time because I don't think I was heard on any level when I came to court the last time. I brought 4 sheets of paper in my hands and wrote in length what I had been through the last 4 months before I came there. The people who did that to me should not be able to walk away so easily. I'll recap. I was on tour in 2018. I was forced to do. My management said if I don't do this tour, I will have to find an attorney.
Ms. Spears, I hate to interrupt you, but my court reporter is taking down what you're saying.
Okay.
And so you have to speak a little more slowly.
Oh, of course, yes. Okay, I apologize. Great.
Of everything you're saying.
Okay.
Now,
the people who did this to me should not get away and to be able to walk away so easily. Recap. I was on tour in 2018. I was forced to do. My management said if I don't do this tour, I will have to find an attorney, and by contract, my own management could sue me if I didn't follow through with the tour. He handed me a sheet of paper as I got off the stage in Vegas and said I had to sign it. It was very threatening and scary, and with the conservatorship, I couldn't even get my own attorney, so out of fear, I went ahead and I did the tour. When I came off that tour, a new show in Las Vegas was supposed to take place. I started rehearsing early, but it was hard because I'd been doing Vegas for 4 years and I needed a break in between. But no, I was told this is the timeline and this is how it's going to go. I rehearsed 4 to 4 days a week. Half of the time in the studio and half of the other time in a Westlake studio. I was basically directing most of the show with my whereabouts, where I preferred to rehearse and actually did most of the choreography, meaning I taught my dancers my new choreography myself. I take everything I do very seriously. There's tons of video with me at rehearsals. I wasn't good. I was great. I led a room of 16 new dancers in rehearsals. It's funny to hear my manager's side of the story. They all said I wasn't participating in rehearsals and I never agreed to take my medication, which my medication is only taken in the mornings, never at rehearsal. They don't even see me. So why are they even claiming that? When I said no to one dance move into rehearsals, it was as if I planted a huge bomb somewhere. And I said, no, I don't want to do it this way. After that, my management and my dancers and my assistant of the new people that were supposed to do the new show all went into a room, shut the door, and didn't come out for at least 45 minutes. Ma'am, I'm not here to be anyone's slave. I can say no to a dance move. I was told by my, at the time, therapist, Dr. Benson, who died, that my manager called him in that moment and told him I wasn't cooperating or following the guidelines in rehearsals. And he also said I wasn't taking my medication, which is so dumb because I've had the same lady every morning for the past 8 years give me my same medication, and I'm nowhere near these stupid people. It made no sense at all. There was a week period where they were nice to me and they said, I don't want to do, and I told them I don't want to do the, they were nice to me. They said, if I don't want to do the new Vegas show, I don't have to, because I was getting really nervous. I said, I can wait. It was like, they told me I could wait. It was like lifting literally 200 pounds off of me when they said I don't have to do the show anymore, because I was really, really hard on myself and it was too much. I couldn't take it anymore. So I remember telling my assistant, but you know what? I feel weird if I say no. I feel like they're going to come back and be mean to me or punish me or something. 3 days later, after I said no to Vegas, my therapist sat me down in a room and said he had a million phone calls about how I was not cooperating in rehearsals and I haven't been taking my medication. All of this was false. He immediately the next day put me on lithium out of nowhere. He took me off my normal meds I'd been on for 5 years. And lithium is a very, very strong and completely different medication compared to what I was used to. You can go mentally impaired if you take too much, if you stay on it longer than 5 months. But he put me on that and I felt drunk. I really couldn't even take up for myself. I couldn't even have a conversation with my mom or dad really about anything. I told them I was scared, and my doctor had me on 6 different nurses with this new medication come to my home, stay with me, to monitor me on this new medication, which I never wanted to be on to begin with. There were 6 different nurses in my homes, and they wouldn't let me get in my car to go anywhere for a month. Not only did my family not do a goddamn thing, my dad was all for it. Anything that happened to me had to be approved by my dad, and my dad he acted like he didn't know that I was told I had to be tested over the Christmas holidays before they sent me away when my kids went home to Louisiana. He was the one who approved all of it. My whole family did nothing. Over the 2-week holiday, a lady came into my home for 4 hours a day, sat me down and did a psych test on me. It took forever. But I was told I had to then, after that I got off, I was told I had to then, after I got a phone call from my dad saying, after I did the psych test with this lady, basically saying I had failed the test or whatever, I'm sorry, Britney, you have to listen to your doctors. They are planning to send you to a small home in Beverly Hills to do a small rehab program that we're going to make up for you. You're going to pay $60,000 a month for this. I cried on the phone for an hour, and he loved every minute of it. The control he had over someone as powerful as me, as he loved the control to hurt his own daughter 100,000%. He loved it. I packed my bags and went to that place. I worked 7 days a week, no days off, which in California, the only similar thing to this is called sex trafficking, making anyone work against their will, taking all their possessions away, credit card, cash, phone, passport card, and placing them in a home where they work with the people who live with them. They all lived in the house with me, the nurses, the 24/7 security. There was one chef that came there and cooked for me daily during the weekdays. They watched me changed every day, naked, morning, noon, and night. My body, I had no privacy door for my room. I gave 8 gallons of blood a week. If I didn't do any of my meetings and work from 8 to 6 at night, which is 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, no days off, I wouldn't be able to see my kids or my boyfriend. I never had a say in my schedule. They always told me I had to do this. And ma'am, I will tell you, sitting in a chair 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, it ain't fun. And especially when you can't walk out the front door. And that's why I'm telling you this again 2 years later. After I've lied and told the whole world I'm okay and I'm happy, it's a lie. I thought I said that enough. Maybe I might become happy because I've been in denial. I've been in shock. I am traumatized. Fake it till you make it. But now I'm telling you the truth, okay? I'm not happy. I can't sleep. I'm so angry, it's insane, and I'm depressed. I cry every day, and the reason I'm telling you this is because I don't think how the state of California can have all this written in the court documents from the time I showed up and do absolutely nothing, just hire with my money another person to keep my dad on board. Ma'am, my dad and anyone involved in this conservatorship and my management who played a huge role in punishing at me when I said, no, ma'am, they should be in jail. Their cool tactics working for Miley Cyrus as she smokes on joints and stage at the VMAs. Nothing is ever done to this generation for doing wrong things. But my precious body, who has worked for my dad for the past fucking 13 years, trying to be so good and pretty, so perfect when he works me so hard, when I do everything I'm told in the state of California, allowed my ignorant father to take his own daughter, who only has a role with me if I work with him. They set back the whole course and allowed him to do that to me. That's giving these people I've worked for way too much control. They also threatened me and said if I don't go, then I have to go to court. And it will be more embarrassing me if the judge publicly makes you go the evidence we have. You have to go. I was advised for my image, I need to go ahead and just go and get it over with. They said that to me. I don't even drink alcohol. I should drink alcohol, considering what they put my heart through. Also, the Bridges facility they sent me to, none of the kids, I was doing this program for 4 months. So the last 2 months I went to a Bridges facility. None of the kids there did the program. They never showed up for any of them. You didn't have to do anything if you didn't want to. How come they always made me go? How come I was always threatened by my dad and anybody that participated in this conservatorship? If I don't do this, what they tell me to enslave me to do, they're going to punish me. The last time I spoke to you by just keeping the conservatorship going and also keeping my dad in the loop made me feel like I was dead. Like I didn't matter. Like nothing had been done to me. Like you thought I was lying or something. I'm telling you again because I'm not lying. I want to feel heard. And I'm telling you this again so maybe you can understand the depth and the degree and the damage that they did to me back then. I want changes, and I want changes going forward. I deserve changes. I was told I have to sit down and be evaluated again if I want to end the conservatorship. Ma'am, I didn't know I could petition the conservatorship to end it. I'm sorry for my ignorance, but I honestly didn't know that. But honestly, I don't think I owe anyone to be evaluated. I've done more than enough. I don't feel like I should even be in a room with anyone to offend me by trying to question my capacity of intelligence, whether I need to be in this stupid conservatorship or not. I've done more than enough. I don't owe these people anything, especially me, the one that has roofed and fed tons of people on tour on the road. It's embarrassing and demoralizing what I've been through. And that's the main reason I've never said it openly. And mainly I didn't want to say it openly because I honestly didn't think anyone would believe me. To be honest with you, the Paris Hilton story on what they did to her to that school, I didn't believe any of it. I'm sorry. I'm an outsider, and I'll just be honest. I didn't believe it. And maybe I'm wrong. And that's why I didn't want to say any of this to anybody, to the public, because I thought people would make fun of me or laugh at me and say, she's lying. She's got everything. She's Britney Spears. I'm not lying. I just want my life back. And it's been 13 years and it's enough. It's been a long time since I've owned my money, and it's my wish and my dream for all of this to end without being tested. Again, it makes no sense whatsoever for the state of California to sit back and literally watch me with their own two eyes make a living for so many people and pay so many people trucks and buses on tour on the road with me and be told I'm not good enough. But I'm great at what I do. And I allow these people to control what I do, ma'am, and it's enough. It makes no sense at all. Now, going forward, I'm not willing to meet or see anyone I've met with enough people against my will. I'm done. All I want is to own my money for this to end and my boyfriend to drive me in his fucking car. And I would honestly like to sue my family, to be totally honest with you. I also would like to be able to share my story with the world and what they did to me instead of it being a hush-hush secret to benefit all of them. I want to be able to be heard on what they did to me by making me keep this in for so long is not good for my heart. I've been so angry and I cry every day. It concerns me. I'm told I'm not allowed to expose the people who did this to me. For my sanity, I need you to the judge to approve me, do an interview where I can be heard on what they did to me. And actually, I have the right to use my voice and take up for myself. My attorney says I can't, it's not good. I can't let the public know anything they did to me. And by not saying anything is saying it's okay. I don't know what I said here. It's not okay. I don't want to interview. I'd much rather just have an open call to you for the press to hear, which I didn't know today we're doing. So thank you. Instead of having an interview, honestly, I need that to get it off my heart, the anger and all of it that's been happening.
Now, if you listen to this audio that was leaked of Britney Spears talking to the judge over the conservatorship, she sounds completely coherent. I mean, this is the most coherent I have ever heard Britney Spears sound in probably about 12 years. Because like I said, when you see her on her social media site, when you see her on Instagram, when she posts things, she doesn't seem like she's all there. But she said in this audio that her father forced her to take lithium, which, if you take it more than 5 months, then it makes you mentally impaired and it doesn't allow you to have mentally sound or coherent conversations. And she wasn't even able to have them with her mother or her father. But the biggest thing to me about this situation that's really, really disturbing is how none of her family has stepped in to help her. Now, we all know that her dad is the main person that oversees everything when it comes to her estate. However, my question is, what is this? Where is the mother? Where is her place in this? Because I definitely feel like the mother's in on this too. And then she has her sister, Jamie Lynn, who you don't hear anything about anymore. I know that she had that scandal where allegedly, she got pregnant by that producer on Nickelodeon or Disney some years ago, allegedly. And that's how she conceived her first child. But to me, you never hear her sister speak on Britney Spears. Jamie Lynn, you don't hear her speak about her sister at all, which I find to be really weird. And then I was listening to an interview that Britney Spears' brother had did some time ago. And in that interview, he was pretty much all for the conservatorship, although he did state that the conservatorship was like way too long. 12 years was a crazy amount of time to be in a conservatorship. He was all for it. He was saying that, him and his father are pretty much the main men in their family. There's more women within the family than there are men. And he felt like she needed that sort of structure. He felt like it was necessary for the father to be in control. But when Britney Spears first got the conservatorship done with her father, they did a documentary, and it was showing her, coming into the conservatorship and how she was adjusting and how her life was since the conservatorship happened. And you've seen a lot of shade thrown at the father. You can definitely tell that Britney Spears was not happy with her situation at all with her father. You can definitely tell that she felt like he was very controlling, and she made that known, as we all heard in the audio, that he's a very controlling guy. He manipulated her. He forced her to go and get mental evaluations that she didn't need. He forced her to take drugs. He forced her to pretty much pay for his attorneys, to pay for his lavish lifestyle. And I think that all this just boils down to is greed. He put all these handlers in place to be able to control Britney Spears and her estate. Because if you watch the documentary that they did on Britney Spears, when the whole hashtag Free Britney thing came out, it was very telling that everybody felt like, Jamie Lynn Spears was after his daughter Britney Spears' fortune. That's all he ever really spoke about her. Well, all he ever cared about was getting money. And it's really sad to see how money can really divide a family. How it overtakes people in their lives. And, I don't want to say money is the root of all evil, because it's not, but it's crazy to see how money can really turn someone really cold. And, I just think that is sickening to see how Britney's been in this conservatorship. She hasn't gotten better. But also this makes me think about Hollywood in general. Now, I made this a point in conversations that I've had with people in the past about my thoughts about Hollywood. Now, over the years, you've seen so many celebrities come out and talk about how sick Hollywood is, how they've been suffering from mental health. And you see a lot of people say, well, that's Hollywood for you. Drugs, sex, debauchery, all types of stuff. All that's just part of Hollywood. But how is it that you have perfectly normal people that had normal lives prior to them getting into Hollywood are all losing their minds? If everybody is losing their minds in this one place that have all this talent and so much to lose, I think that says more about the environment that they're in than the actual person, and that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't really care to look into, because they always make the excuse, oh, that's Hollywood for you, if someone's having a mental breakdown. But how is that normal? If you have a place where everybody's having a mental breakdown, like situations such as Lindsay Lohan and Amanda Bynes, and then you have Martin Lawrence that's on the side of the road talking about, people are trying to kill me, and he's waving a gun and he's going off. But think about how all these people have so much to lose and so much talent. Why would they be acting out like this if there really wasn't something wrong? And so even back then, watching the documentary that they did on Britney Spears, back then how she was crying out for help, but yet there was people out there that were judging her. No one really cared. And how she even talked about in the audio how when she went to the rehab facilities, how paparazzi was out there laughing at her when she was crying, and how no one offered an extended hand in order to help her. They just cared all about what they could get out of the situation and could care less about her mental health. Even when you watch the interview that she had did with Diane Sawyer, I mean, look how Diane Sawyer portrayed her and made her look and feel. I mean, it was just an awful interview to see. And so, it's just very disturbing. Now, another thing that I think some people may have forgotten about, or maybe everybody does still remember this, but Britney Spears' son, Jaden. Now, although he was definitely out of order for some of the things that he was saying, because he was using profanity and saying it, and he's only like 13 years old, he did mention how, the Britney Spears' father was a dick. And I remember him going on this huge Instagram live rant where people were just asking him questions, and he was answering all the questions that people had, and the father had got brought up. And people were asking, is Britney free? What's going on with her? She's making music and so on and so forth. So he pretty much said that the grandfather was a dick and he was a fucking asshole. miserable. And, he was saying that the mother wasn't making any music. And in the audio that was leaked, Britney Spears said she didn't want to do the residency. She didn't want to make any music anymore because of the fact that the father was forcing her to do it. And she wasn't allowed to be able to have any creative direction while she was actually, preparing for these tours. And so she just felt like a slave. And so she really had no interest in doing any music anymore, which is sad because she's had so many loyal fans over the years. And it's amazing to see how her fan base has continued to be loyal to her, because Britney Spears has been in the game since the late 90s, early 2000s. So she's been around the block for a long time. So to see her fan base still be so loyal to her, even in these times, that's very telling of the type of superstardom that she is, the star that she is, So if it wasn't for the fans, ultimately, really, let's think about it. We wouldn't really know anything about what was really going on, and we probably would have never heard about this leaked audio that came out. Britney Spears would have never had a voice. But if it wasn't for the fans outside of the courtroom petitioning, making things happen, making the courts help Britney Spears to be able to petition for her to be able to get her word out, who knows what her situation would be right now, and that's something that's really scary to think of. God forbid she would have tried to harm herself because she was so miserable in the situation that she was in. Now, after Jaden had went on that rant on Instagram Live, the father, Jaden and the other son, Sean, had went over to Britney Spears' house for visitation. While they were visiting the Britney Spears, the grandfather assaulted Sean. Apparently, the grandfather went in one of the bedrooms, kicked the door in, and started choking Sean. And the father found out about it. Kevin Federline found out about the situation, and they tried to get a restraining order against the grandfather. For whatever reason, they decided not to go through with the restraining order, but instead of having the 50-50 custody that Britney Spears shared with Kevin Federline, she now had 10% custody and Kevin Federline had 90%. Now, years ago, Britney Spears barely even had 50% custody of her kids. So to see even the fact that she has that pretty much even equal shared rights when it comes to visitation of her children is very telling of her ability to function. She's a very high functioning person, and she doesn't need to be in this whack-ass conservatorship that she's pretty much in. Another person that's kind of getting me in this whole Britney Spears situation is her boyfriend, Sam Asghari, I believe his name is. Now, where the hell is Sam in all of this shit? So he sees all of this that's going on. And when the documentary for Britney Spears that came out recently, he has spoke out about the father, and he was saying that, he believed that, the father was treating Britney Spears unfairly and that she deserved her freedom and blase, blase, blase. But where was your motherfucking antennas when all this shit was going on and you just taking a backseat? So you've been dating Britney Spears for a couple of years now. She's been in this conservatorship for 12 years. But why weren't you doing anything to help her? And now all of a sudden, when, this documentary comes out, all of a sudden you want to speak out about the situation. So me, in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, you obviously have another ulterior motive yourself, and it's sad to see. It's like Britney Spears has all these people in her corner that she really can't even trust, Everybody is suspicious. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like the saying goes. It's like more money, more problems. And this is kind of what the situation is with Britney Spears. Here's someone that's super successful, super talented. She has that star power, and she has all of these vultures that are around her that are trying to, feed off of her. Not only her boyfriends and some friends that she's had over the years, but even her own family. So it's like, who do you turn to? Who's in your corner? Another thing that I thought was really disturbing in the audio is when she's speaking about the fact that she can't even, unclothe herself without someone being in the room. She can't have a door locked in the house. I mean, what type of disturbing shit is that? Like, that's some sick stuff right there. So, I mean, all of these things are super alarming. This conservatorship has definitely, like she said, has done her harm instead of good. And the fact that she has to continue to go and get these mental evaluations is like, it's beyond me. And like I said, hearing her speak in the audio, that was the most clearest I've heard Britney Spears sound and speak in a long time. Because when she's on her Instagram post, she sounds very robotic. She sounds very, overly medicated when she's speaking. Even her movements are a little off. And so, hearing her speak and hearing her be mentally sound, it's very telling that Britney Spears definitely is someone that should be able to be in control over her own life and have say-so in what happens in her life and should have freedom. I mean, it's just crazy to see all of the scrutiny that Britney Spears has faced over the years. Like, it just completely disturbs me to hear it. And looking back on it, because I remember hearing about all of this stuff and watching the interviews that she did with Diane Sawyer and, other interviews and seeing, the things such as her going out and shaving her head and her having the whole situation where she's taking the umbrella and beating to the paparazzi's car. I mean, seeing all of that, and then me being older now and realizing why she actually did it, watching this documentary is like, okay, I totally understand why she did this now. She was crying out for help. And the fact that nobody helped her and instead laughed at her demise, even her own family members, that's some terrible shit right there. So I really, really hope that Britney Spears can somehow get out of her conservatorship and, she can live a happy life and she'll be able to regain some sort of control, that she will get 50-50 custody again over her children, that she would have control over her finances, that she would just be able to have freedom. So, my wishes and hopes for Britney Spears and my prayers go out to her. And I really hope this leaked audio that they had on her speaking about the conservatorship, I really hope that she's able to end it. And I just think this is a terrible situation that Britney Spears has been in for well over 12 years, because this has been going on for way too long now. Now, I want to move on to talking about John McAfee. Now, this story is so crazy. Now, John McAfee was found dead yesterday in his cell. He was waiting extradition to the United States for tax evasion. He was in Spain waiting extradition to the United States. And for those who are not familiar with him, he's the antivirus software tycoon who founded and created McAfee, named after him in 1987. And we still use McAfee's, antivirus ware to this day. I mean, it is still booming. He stepped down in 1994 and he decided to pursue other business ventures, and his life had just completely been fucking crazy since the moment that he stepped down. I would say he's the disgraced antivirus software tycoon. If you ask me, you didn't, but I'm just telling you. So let's get into what the hell is going on with this situation, because this is some wild shit. Okay, so he sold his shares in 1994 for $100 million, and eventually he blew through all that money. He had a lavish lifestyle. He bought, acres of land in Hawaii. He invested in some cryptocurrency, and eventually the cryptocurrency that he invested in, the two people that were running it went bankrupt. So after, spending of years of just blowing through money, and then this whole situation with the bankruptcy, he started, frantically selling off all of the shares that he had that were sold for, less than what their actual value was. Then he moves to Belize. He lives there for quite a few years. He lives the whole Playboy lifestyle. He had a whole brothel full of prostitutes. He was said to be in some drug cartel activities, selling methamphetamine and illegal guns. And eventually the authorities in Belize caught on to him. And in doing an investigation into him, they also figured he probably was connected to the neighbor's death by the name of Gregory Fall. Now, Gregory Fall, he was shot to death, and they felt like McAfee had something to do with the situation. Although McAfee denied his involvement in the murder of Gregory, it was said that McAfee had a couple of dogs, 4 to be exact, and one of the dogs had ended up attacking one of the tourists that was in Belize. And Gregory went and reported this, and that had ensued some sort of an argument with McAfee, and that they felt like was They felt like McAfee retaliated by shooting Gregory to death. And although, McAfee denied this whole situation, he ended up fleeing to another country. And as soon as he sold his shares in the company in 1994 for McAfee, he spent most of his life pretty much on the run. He ended up fleeing to Guatemala in 2012. And eventually the family of Gregory opened up a wrongful death lawsuit against him. And they were actually granted $25 million in 2019. So obviously, even though McAfee was saying that he was completely innocent in the situation, he obviously had some sort of connections, to the murder. Because there's no way that he's going to win this, that the family would be able to win this wrongful death suit if, McAfee's hands wasn't somehow dirty in this situation, which, hearing all of the way he lived his lifestyle, he's definitely lived his lifestyle on the edge. Let's just put it like that, which is completely crazy to me. I mean, his life was full of all types of debauchery, from underage prostitutes to drugs. I mean, he even tried to get in the Libertarian Party and run for presidency. He was always spewing some conspiracy theories on his social media handles, and even when he had passed away, the last tweet that he had tweeted was Q. And, after his death, all these crazy QAnon conspiracy theorists started to figure, he had, the government had this plot against him and they tried to kill him and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, oh, shit. Here comes all the fucking crazy QAnoners out here with their crazy ass conspiracy theories. I mean, we thought that we were rid of them since Trump got out of fucking office, but we still see that they're alive and well and breathing out here. And we need to hear less and less and less of them. I'm like, God damn, just go back in the closet somewhere. Just fucking get lost. I don't know, you crazy QAnoners. We don't need to hear any more from you. So, I mean, he pretty much traveled around the world for a while, even after he had fled to Guatemala. He had went to a few other countries. But he was deported back to the U.S. eventually, and in Tennessee, he started doing crypto fraud, in which they would call this the pump and dump. So what he was doing was he was promoting cryptocurrency along with one of his business partners, but he wasn't making himself a known investor. So he was pretty much putting, the advertisements for this certain cryptocurrency on his social media sites, as well as the business partner that he had, but not divulging that he was a silent investor. And from this cryptocurrency that he had invested in and being a silent investor, he had made $23 million from it. But he didn't pay his taxes. And he owed the U.S. government $4 million in back taxes because of this. Now, he went on a Twitter rant where he said he hadn't paid his taxes in 8 years and didn't plan on doing so. So, Uncle Sam told him, hell hell you are. You better pay me my money. You know Uncle Sam don't play about his money, honey. And you know it's stupid for anybody to go on social media where you know the government watches everything you fucking type on there and say some shit like that. So, I mean, that was just stupid in itself. So, you know, he eventually flees to Spain, and he gets arrested at the airport for tax evasion in the U.S. While he's in Spain, awaiting extradition to the U.S. for the tax evasion, he gets he commits suicide. And the extradition gets granted, and he committed suicide. Now, my theory on this is, now, prior to the suicide, there had been, you know, many tweets that he had made talking about he felt like he was going to get, if anything happened to him while he was in custody, then, you know, it would be an Epstein type of situation. Oh, they're going to Epstein me. I would never kill myself. And blah, 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 blah. He's saying all this stuff about how he would never kill himself. Now, if you ask me, my thoughts on this whole situation is simply that I truly believe in my heart of hearts that he killed himself. Now, you have to remember, when McAfee died, he died at the age of 75 years old. He had pretty much been on the lam since 1994, if you really want to think about it. And, you know, he was old. And he knew that with this extradition to the U.S., he was facing 30 years for tax evasion. And he was even saying that he had a hard time being in prison, that he did not enjoy life there, and he didn't pretty much know how much more he can take. So although he did make those previous tweets about, you know, him never wanting to commit suicide and how he would actually never do it, I truly believe that he committed suicide because, you know, he would have spent the rest of his life behind bars, and that's not how he wanted to live his life. And we have to think about the fact that he's pretty much gotten away with damn near murder, no pun intended, but he's pretty much got away with murder and a host of other, you know, illegal activities that he's done over the years as well. I mean, he had a whole video with him toting guns with all the prostitutes that he was, you know, having, that he was pretty much pimping. And, you know, this man said that he fathered over 47 children. I mean, he was just a wild man who lived life pretty much on the edge. I mean, now, after all of this information came out about his death, then we hear about the wife. Now, what's crazy about this shit here is the wife was a prostitute. And she was actually ordered by the cartel and her pimp to not only poison McAfee, but to spy on him for the cartel. And they had, in doing this, they were going to try to kidnap McAfee. And they did, and she did this for 2 years. And he didn't know it, and then eventually he caught on somehow. They never said how, you know, he actually found out that she was over there, you know, plotting on his ass. But she was plotting on him for 2 years. He found out about it, and he stayed with her, which is crazy to me that he actually stayed with someone that did something like that to him. But that's not his first time where he's dated someone or been involved with someone that's tried to kill him. Another girlfriend some years prior to that, named Amy Herbert, tried to kill him too. She actually tried to shoot him. In an interview that she had stated that, and that she had tried to cut his throat. And she said that he was all for it. He had told her, well, go ahead and cut me, kill me right now. So, you know, and thinking about how, you know, he's saying that he would never kill himself, and that if anything happened to him, and, you know, it was the government, and then seeing how he had all these people around him, his wife and his girlfriend were all trying to kill him. He had all these people after him. I mean, that would drive really anybody crazy. So, I mean, do I think that it's a far-fetched theory to think about, you know, him trying to kill himself? I mean, no, it's not at all. And I definitely think, you know, he definitely committed suicide in this situation, which is sad. But I mean, like I said, the man lived his life on the edge for many, many years, and he lived to the age of 75. And, you know, he committed all of these offenses over the years. And, you know, when you play dirty, sometimes it starts to catch up with you. Like in the words of Nene Leakes says, you can't win when you dirty, you know? So, you know, it's just a crazy situation, the whole McAfee thing. I mean, this computer software engineer, this mastermind, he has so much to live for, but yet he's living like he's in some fucking movie or something like that. He's living like he's playing a character in Snowfall. It's like, why the fuck are you doing all of this stuff? You could have been a billionaire had you stayed a couple of years longer within the company, but yet you wanted to go off and fuck a bunch of underage prostitutes and do all types of like crazy debauchery. So yeah, it's just a crazy situation, and eventually, you gotta pay your taxes. Everybody always thinks that, I shouldn't have to pay tax. Lauryn Hill tried that. That didn't work for her. Wesley Snipes tried that too. That didn't work for him, and every other person that's tried not to pay their damn taxes. You know damn well if you owe Uncle Sam their money, they gonna try to collect it anyway. They can't. And that's just period. That's just how it goes. You gotta pay your taxes. Don't have the tax man coming after you. So with that said, I want to shift over to talking about this Nina Simone estate situation. Now, Nina Simone's granddaughter, Brenna Simone Kelly, recently came out and blasted Vice President Kamala Harris for allegedly handing over her grandmother's estate, Nina Simone, to the white people, she alleges, and not upholding Nina Simone's wishes. And because of this, Nina's granddaughter is stating that she now is so destitute that she is now considering stripping in order to pay bills. Now, to me, this all makes sense of why last week she was defending Chloe Bailey for her hypersexualized tribute to her grandmother that she did for the tribute performance for Nina Simone last week on ABC. Now, that got a lot of backlash, and people felt like her performance was really just inappropriate. But now it all makes sense. Because, Chloe was rolling around all over the stage, all seductively and stuff, and, gyrating her booty up and down and stuff like that. And, the granddaughter, she wants to be a stripper. So, it makes sense of why she was all for the performance. She's over here trying to get some lessons from Chloe since watching that performance and stuff like that. So, it makes a lot of sense. So, when Kamala Harris was the general attorney for California, she was appointed to go after people who were embezzling money from people's estates. And so Nina Simone's daughter, Lisa Simone, was appointed administrator of her mother's estate and charitable trust. Now, Lisa Simone was accused of draining $2 million in coffers, and $1.5 million was transferred to her personal account that was supposed to be donated to a charity, in which Nina Simone stated that she wanted the $2 million to go to charity in her will. Now, Lisa was then charged $6 million in surcharges plus $2.5 million in interest by Kamala Harris. So that pretty much totaled out to $8.5 million. Now, they settled on Lisa giving up her rights to her mother's work and the title of the state administrator. So, the granddaughter and Nina Simone's daughter had been speaking out for a couple of years now. I know when the whole Nina Simone biopic came out and Zoe Saldana was supposed to play it, and everybody was like outraged because everybody's like, well, why the hell is Zoe Saldana playing Nina Simone? She looks nothing like her. Hell, Zoe Saldana don't even see herself as an African-American woman. So how does she even fit in this role? And people were looking at the family like, how do you guys allow this to happen? But it all makes sense of why that went on, because Nina Simone's daughter is no longer the head over her estate anymore. It is actually the state of California that oversees all of the Nina Simone's estate affairs, and they are the ones that gave the green light for the whole Nina Simone biopic. But I just find it funny that even after all these years, how the granddaughter and the mother are coming out here, you know, talking about, oh, well, you guys are doing this dirty, and Kamala Harris, you allowed the white man to take, you know, my grandmother's fortune from me, and now I have to be a stripper. How dare you? Go get a job. Go get a job. You know, your mother was embezzling the money. You know, that was not the money that she was taking, was money that was supposed to go to charity, and that is Kamala Harris's job as the general attorney of California to make sure that people who are embezzling money are reprimanded. And you're no different just because you're Nina Simone's daughter and granddaughter. You embezzled the money. You know, it was in her will of testament that this $2 million go to charity, and instead you want to put this money in your own personal account. Why do you need to do that? You already had money that she had left you in the will. So why do you need to take this money that's supposed to go to charity and put it in your own personal account? So this goes back into, you know, even the whole Britney Spears situation, in that, you know, her own family wasn't looking out for her best interests. And it's the same in this Nina Simone case, where the daughter's over here embezzling money and putting money into her personal account when she should be out there trying to create a legacy for herself, to continue to help her mother's legacy live on, instead of draining her mother's estate for her own personal interests and her own personal gain. You know, so this whole situation right here just ties into greed and people being greedy, and how Nina Simone's daughter just got her ass humbled by Vice President Kamala Harris because she was just being fucking greedy. And that's what happens when you are greedy. Then shit will be taken from right under your feet. And now you're in a situation where you got to go, your granddaughter and maybe even you as a mother got to get on the stripper pole and go make a couple of dollars. Hell, if that's what you got to do to, you know, make a living for yourself, you got to do what you got to do. Like Erykah Badu says, work ain't honest, but it sure damn pays the bills. So you better get to twerking. Well, I want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Vibe Selection. I am your host, Kyra, and stay tuned for next week's episode to see who is my special guest for next week. And no, I'm not going to tell y'all because y'all know I got to keep y'all in suspense. So y'all just make sure you guys tune in at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time next week to find out who's going to be on the show. And with that said, you guys can also follow me on Instagram at I am Kyra Mahoney. If you like any Vibe Selection merchandise, you can pick that up at www.teespring.com/vibeselection. Or if you like to donate to the Vibe Selection podcast, you can cash at me at Vibe Selection, or you can donate to Patreon at www.patreon.com/vibeselection. See y'all all next week. Bye.
Thank you for joining Vibe Selection with Kyra. Come vibe out with us again next time and hear the latest on today's hot topics. Find us on Instagram at I am Kyra Mahoney, or donate at www.patreon.com/vibeselection.